I'm thinking that's not right. Alright, so I'm knee deep in alternator removal, and I thought I'd point out some of the things I've learned. Even though I've got my alternator here half disassembled, let me show the bolts that are important. When removing the air conditioner compressor, it's got 5 bolts. 1, 2, 3, there it goes. 4 and 5. You notice this one right here I labeled number 4. On the driver's side, front left corner, doesn't need to come out to move the air conditioner. The one in the back does, right behind it. After you pick that up, put it out of the way, it helps you get at everything else. I used a wire here to kind of secure it up. That fell while I was talking about it. In addition, I removed my spark plug wires for the 3 that run over the fan housing. Removed hex heads here and here, pulled that back, removed the strap that holds the fan housing and alternator down. Now, I had a broken belt and the other one was loosened by all this and able to pull it down, so I didn't get into belt removal. My belt on my air conditioner was also loose from the alternator failure, so it just popped off. The adjustment screw, if you need to do it on yours, for tension on the IC belt is this bolt right here. And you loosen that, it's got a lock counter nut down here at the base. And then you got the bolt head there. You loosen the counter nut, tension nut, and then remove the bolt. In addition, had a couple of screws holding the housing, plastic housing on top of the alternator. It sat right here. It had 3 just standard bolts. So I pulled it out. Gives me a little bit of working room. Then this comes up. Next, what I'm going to do is remove each one of these nuts, and that'll give me access to the wires inside. I've got the ground disconnected from the battery because the wires in here would be live otherwise. Alright, so I'm inside the garage now and want to get the housing off of the outside of the fan and alternator assembly. So you can see I opened up my largemouth vise here, the one with the Ford quality renewal sticker on it, and opened up wide so it just hangs on the housing. Grabbed my favorite precision tool, the 2.5 pound hammer, a couple of quick pops, loosened right up, and you can see the shroud pops off. There's my fan alternator assembly. So the next step of fun is going to be getting the fan off of the alternator. So a little bit of prying with a screwdriver, I was able to get the pulley partially apart. I think this thing may have supposed to have been flat. I'm not sure, but I guarantee this is not how things are supposed to look in here. In addition, you can see I've got, maybe out of focus, got 3 small cracks, 1, 2, 3 in this pulley face. And we got a world of metal shavings and litter up in here. Pull the other half up. You can see it's been hot. See the discoloring? Right here is the other side of this. So it should look like this, and it just slides on the shaft opposite that. Except it's full of little spacers that are thin. This one's warped all to hell. But it ended up friction welding this back piece to the shaft. Well, after a lot of persuasion, finally got the pulley hub and bearing and fan all off. This is how the pulley hub sat on there. There was a race that sat right there, and the pulley hub sat there, allowed it to spin. You can still see maybe the inner race, well, outer race of the bearing inside the hub is still inside there, but that's what the standard one looks like. This little spacer piece right here is going to have to come off, and here's what we're going to put on its place. Just came today. This is the RS hub. It's going to slip right on there and force the fan to turn at the same speed as the alternator. Coming over here, show you what we've done with the fan. Painted it red, sandblasted it first. Painted the fan housing black. Fan's going to look nice and pretty up inside of there. Got that spacer off. Buffed down the shaft with a little emery cloth, and then put the new machined hub on there. I used my old hub upside down and against these shoulders, and then tapped softly against here my brass hammer that to get a good seat. That way I don't have to worry about marring anything up on the new piece. So I've got that on there. We're going to add the fan, the pulleys, and get this in the car before long. Alright, so we have the fan and the pulley back on. This is tight on top of the hub, but I've left the pulley loose to make it easy for putting the belt on. And it, as you can see, tightens down separate using these 3 bolts. I've put the whole assembly, fan assembly, into the fan housing. If you come around to the back side, I've put 2 of these nuts on just barely. I got to take them off to put this housing on after we get it wired back in the car. But for now, I just started those so this whole thing doesn't pop apart when I'm putting it back in the car. So let's get out of the car and see how it looks. Alright, so we got it into position in the engine. And if you look down here, here's the big wire, little wire, and then off on the left, driver's side, is the little brown wire underneath the Phillips head there. So remember the order. I forgot, had to go look it up. One thing I did notice though is I'm going to have some touch-up work to do. Got some chips along here, but that's just paint. No big deal. Making good progress. Next we got to put the housing cap on. Alright, so we got it in there now. You can see we got the back housing and it's 3 bolts on. Got the strap on and tight. Got the 2 bolts that hold the cover are on. Belts on, 3 tight. 2 mistakes I've made that I wanted to point out. One is when I showed it earlier, this assembly, I hadn't put the washer in here. I realized that when I was tightening it down that it didn't have the washer there, so I found the washer, put it on. The other one that I haven't fixed yet, but I'm going to next, is almost same error. Right here, there should be a washer, small washer. Got it right here. That washer, gonna put back here. All that and I'll be done. Unless we'll have to see how it works. I think that about speaks for itself. Looking good.